Well, good afternoon, Courtney Brown. Thank you for coming and spending some time with Tottenham Community Sports Centre. I know you've been working in the community for a number of years, and I've invited you to come down and just tell your story. Just give us a little bit of information about what you do. I know you've achieved quite a lot, and you're continuing to do great things on a transatlantic basis. But you're homegrown, so if you could just start off with an initial introduction, a quick introduction about yourself, and then we can go from there.
First of all, thank you for having me down here. It's an honour and a pleasure. But yeah, Courtney Brown. I'm the CEO and founder of an organisation called Father2Father. But before I'm even a CEO and founder, I'm a father of 4 boys, a grandfather, and a husband to a beautiful woman called Lois Brown. So, and I say that because for me, that's me grounding myself.
Of course.
And also a man of God. You know, I can't do anything without the Father, and that's why it's called Father2Father. So I'm wondering what he's done for me in my life and just living it out in the community, to be honest with you. So started Father2Father about 10 years ago. It was an epiphany, to be honest with you. I used to work in secondary schools, and a lot of students were coming into my office emotionally upset. And I'm not saying that they wasn't emotionally upset about certain stories about their mothers, but they spoke about their fathers, and that's what triggered me.
Was this in the borough of Haringey?
So the schools I worked was in Hackney, secondary schools in Hackney.
So you're actually from Hackney?
I'm not from Hackney. I'm from.
So you actually.
So
Haringey is your home borough.
Tottenham is
your
my
home
borough. Yeah.
Right.
Grown, bred Tottenham. You know, I got family in Broadwater Farm, Northumberland Park. Big family all around. Tottenham. My uncle used to own a restaurant on West Green Road called Buddy's Kitchen. My auntie now owns the restaurant on Tottenham High Road called May 10. So my family is really well embedded in Tottenham. But yeah, I worked in Hackney in secondary schools. But yeah, come back over to Tottenham to just deliver work to support the community, to be honest with you. Because like I was explaining in the previous, like what I was saying before, is that, you know, when those students were talking about their fathers, it triggered me with my father and growing up in Tottenham.
So, I mean, do you want to just backtrack a little?
Yeah.
Just briefly give us an idea of what kind of upbringing you had, what kind of background you had.
Yeah.
Just to position it a little bit more.
Just to
Because you obviously
position it,
mentioned
yeah.
your father and your personal experience. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, what I speak about is adverse childhood experiences. You know, so I went through a lot, and I was an angry young man, angry, troubled young man, who was trying to find direction, identity, and purpose. And obviously, I tried to buy into my dad's identity, and at the age of 21, I realised, that wasn't for me. But again, like I said, because I was trying to find myself, purpose and identity, I bought into these other, I call them identities, but also alter egos. So I had this big alter ego because then I became a big promoter. People knew me back then as this promoter called Courtney Too Sweet, and I thought, yeah, I made it, because they were relating me to my dad. Do you get what I'm saying? So, but then, like I said, started working in school, and I was right, no, this isn't the alter ego I want. And actually, it was that alter ego, that person was impacting on my family, especially my sons. So once I recognised that, I'm known as a restorative practitioner, and a restorative practitioner repairs harm. Yeah. So I'm like, wait a minute, you've caused harm here, Courtney. So what do you do about it? It's your responsibility to go and repair it. So I went and spoke to my son's mums and apologised for not being there as I should have been as a father. And then I said, bring my sons, and apologised to my sons, and Father2Father came out of that. You know.
Can I, on that note, that's quite interesting that you obviously, what age was that? When did that take place? Was that teens? Was that early 20s?
You mean when I apologised?
When you had this epiphany, this change, this
10 years
internal
ago.
change. So 10 years ago
About 10
from
years
now.
ago. So it was, I was about 41, 42.
So were you always that? I mean, the teenage years are quite tough. Young black men, you know, I have to say, similar background to yourself. So I understand the challenges, we all share, whether you're from North London, South London, 100%. East, West. If you're in inner city, Manchester, Birmingham, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, we share the same pressures. But what was it that was in you that, I mean, you seemed like you always had this ability to self-reflect.
Yeah.
So whether it came during your teen years, whether it came, I mean, you say it came in your 40s. Tell us about that. Where did that ability come from?
You know what? I call that my superpower. You know, that is my superpower to be able to take a step back, sit down and actually look at everything from a wider perspective. And it doesn't, even though it's my superpower, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to have the right type of people around you.
So it's something that was developed over a period of time.
Yeah, and having the right people around you that supports you to be able to step back and see things from a different perspective. But it is a key skill to have. Otherwise, you just start believing your story. And actually, they say there's two sides to a coin. So that might be your side of the coin, but let's say another side of the coin. And I think that's what happened with me when I started hearing the side of my dad's side upbringing. And that's when I was like, well, how can I hold a man accountable for something he didn't even have himself? He didn't have the support in the 70s and 80s like I've got now. Yeah? So he did the best that he could with the tools that he had. So I had to understand that. And like I said, couldn't hold him accountable to it. So I'm now responsible for how I want the legacy of my grandchildren, my name. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so what
absolutely.
am I doing about it? I'm taking responsibility for my journey, each to their own. But as for Courtney Brown, this is the journey I'm on, innit?
I think it's really interesting to listen to you talk. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, for a young person listening to this interview, you know, agreeing with what it's this thing of being able to self-reflect and to see where you fit in.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite difficult for young people.
Yeah.
I mean, for myself, my personal story, I don't know if you've, sport was played quite a prominent role, and that helped develop confidence, that helped develop an understanding of self.
Yeah.
And fortunately, through the martial arts training, I had an instructor that kind of encouraged that way of thinking. Yeah. So again, I know you mentioned the environment you were surrounded by, and it was stimulating for you and enabled you to develop that ability.
100%. So, and again, I think you hit the nail on the head. It could be, anything could be a hook. So like you talked about sports, but anything could be a hook. I think the key thing is when you talk about young people, providing a healthy space for them to express themselves without being judged. Healthy space for them to express themselves without being judged is a key thing. And that's what I create. You know, whether it's through sports or anything, I create a healthy space for them to express themselves without being judged. But then my team is also able to be vulnerable and authentic and transparent with them. Because I believe it gives young people hope. So when I go and talk to young people, I am vulnerable, I am authentic, I am transparent, and we're not here to judge you because I was there one time as well, but here I am now. So it gives young people hope that actually, well, big man, you went through all of that, and now you're here.
It's that remaining relatable, that relatable quality, and as you say, I think it's very important. I think, I guess that's why we go to the movies. That's why we listen to music. You're looking for people, that we can identify with. And
looking for belonging.
Belonging, exactly. But I think what you're doing is great things. This is part of the reason why Tottenham Community Sports Centre is really quite keen on working with Father2Father.
You're keen working with me. I'm more keen to work with
your
you.
programs.
I mean, your legacy in the community.
We fall in line. We've been here for 55 years this year as a sports centre, and I believe it's the first sports centre in London. Yeah. So we've been serving the community of Tottenham and surrounding boroughs for 55 years, which I think is phenomenal. And still here.
Totally.
And we're trying to be here for another 30 years.
That's right.
Hence the reason why we're trying to do this interview. We're trying to give people that are doing great things in the community that exposure that they need. And of course, if people don't know what you're doing, then how can they get involved? So on that note, going back to Father2Father, do you want to tell us a little bit more about this program? When's it going to start? How can people get involved?
So one of the programs that we're starting, and we're going in partnership, we're doing it here at Tottenham Community Sports Centre, is a program called Men Chat 2. So it will be starting the end of January, and believe it's a Thursday. It's either going to be Thursday or Tuesday night, but obviously we'll put the information out. Men Chat 2, the chat is an acronym. So the chat stands for Men Need to Connect, Men Need to be Heard, Men need to be acknowledged. And when I'm talking about acknowledged, going back to what we spoke about earlier on, acknowledge their feelings and emotions, because they're human beings as well, and we have feelings and emotions as well. We just need to create a healthy space for those feelings and emotions to come out.
Of course.
And then the T is Men Need to Talk. So that's what that is. It's been commissioned by Public Health, Haringey and NHS. It's a 12-month program pilot, and we see where it goes from there. It's we're looking at black men from the ages of 30 plus upwards, be facilitated by us, for us, basically.
So this program will be quite a specific program.
Quite
But
specific to a program.
I know you've got programs that are existing, and you've got ideas for expanding on programs to involve the whole community. So
100%. One of those programs, actually, I'm wearing the jumper right now. Super Dad.
You want to just show us that and show us? Let's get a good look at that logo.
Program.
Okay, great, Dad.
So the Super Dad program is all about facilitating or building a collective for super dads. Yeah, whether they're black, white, Asian, all dads. Yeah, and those dads will be trained up to be able to go out and support young dads or young men in the community. So it could be going into schools, primary schools, secondary schools. It could be getting referrals from family hubs, going into family hubs. It can be getting referrals from North Middlesex Hospital, you know, but we are the super dads. And why that's important for me, because too many times I believe dads are looked at as a liability. No, we're assets. We're assets, yeah? And if we're assets, we have to raise the awareness, but then bring the skill sets of those dads into play. So that's what the Super Dad program will be looking at.
I think it's brilliant, and I think it comes at a time when I think it's quite well known. Unfortunately, the statistics show that you know, the highest suicide rates are down to men. I guess there's several different reasons for this, but again, I like the fact that we're focused on solutions and support structures going forward, because a lot of pressure on men in general, young men in particular, because they can't see a future necessarily ahead of themselves. So that ties into aspirations again as well. So I think any program out there that's in place to kind of offer that support for young people is fantastic. It's partly why we're trying to start these interviews and give people an exposure. So you know,
and it's about giving, and it's about encouraging and supporting dads as well.
Of course.
Because like I said, dads are human beings as well. Like cost of living, so they're stressing about providing. You know, the whole thing about young men being groomed. We're protectors as well. So actually, how can we protect our young boys, our young girls? And as we're talking about girls as well, actually, how can we show our daughters what how a real man treats a woman? Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm talking about, super dads. Actually, let's look at ourselves as assets, and what legacy are we looking to leave behind for our children and young people. And that's what Super Dad is all about.
Again, Courtney, I think what you're doing is fantastic, and it comes at a time really where it's an exciting time for Tottenham Community Sports Centre, because we've got several new initiatives that are soon to be launching, not to give too much away. But you've got yourselves, of course. We've got an organisation called the Glove Generation, that's soon to be launched here. I've just noticed on social media that Idris Elba has just launched his own initiative. An anti-knife crime initiative again. We have Mark Prince, who's quite well known, pushing the Kai and Prince Foundation as well. So again, you know, we just want to reflect what the community needs, and we encourage organisations to come together to provide that solution, a collaboration. Exactly that.
Not Father2Father can't do it by themselves.
Well, that's
the whole thing. So I recognise that and say, okay, then let's come together and deliver the services. And I think the key thing in that is let's come together and deliver, and also we're not in competition. We're not in competition, because it's not about us, it's about our grandchildren's grandchildren.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, my organisation, Martial Way Training, is on the same thing. We just use martial arts as a tool for self-development. It's not necessarily about the fighting, but yes, we have competitions because you need something to gauge yourself, stay active. But it's really about balance, you know. And you know, as I say, it's just great to be able to have you here.
No worries, thank you.
It's 2024.
Yeah.
I know we haven't got any dates confirmed yet.
Oh,
just give
we're
an
going downstairs
idea.
afterwards and get those dates confirmed. Trust
Do you want
me.
to just give the viewers an idea of what timelines we're dealing with
Yeah,
in the next few months? Or
next few months, definitely. Like I said, the Super Dad program has already been commissioned in by Haringey, so I'm working with.
That's sponsored by Haringey Council.
Haringey Council, and
who else is involved in there?
So you've got
backing you in this?
around, you know, some of the programs are backed by City Hall, Bridge Renewal. You know, there's a lot of organisations out there that is backing community groups, and especially Father2Father. So definitely check them out, especially Bridge Renewal, especially if you're a community organisation and you're just starting out. Go and check them out, because that's what they're there for. They'll help you with your legal structure, you know, funding, all of those things there. And yeah, let's just build a community. Starting here with Tottenham Community Sports Centre. You know, so yeah, 100%.
All right, Courtney, one more question. If you could go back in time and have a conversation with yourself at 16 years old, what advice and guidance? I know it's a bit of a heavy, loaded question. You can take your time, have a think about it. But what's the one bit of advice that you would give yourself, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now, I would have told that young prince that you'll soon become a king.
Courtney Brown, thank you very much for coming in, talking with Tottenham Community Sports Centre. Myself, I'll see you again. We'll do it again, my friend.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah.